A man from Colorado is denying he was the target of a terror raid in Queens.
Happy to give you questions, all right?
But your dad just said that you have nothing, the things that they're saying, the allegations.
No, my dad doesn't even speak English correct.
Well, we understood him. He said that you have nothing to do with Al-Qaeda.
Of course not. I have nothing to do with Al-Qaeda and any link or anything with Al-Qaeda.
Authorities say Nejbullah Zazi was in Queens over the weekend. He's 24 years old. He is suspected of having links to Al-Qaeda. Heavily armed officers from the Terrorism Task Force raiding apartments in Flushing Monday morning. The task force fears Zazi may be involved in a potential bomb plot. The FBI is now warning police to be on the lookout for people with burn marks or foul odors that could indicate someone is building a bomb.
I believe it's prudent to put this type of information out. There's no specific individual that's being sought now who has experienced the burns.
Mr. Zazi has not been charged and was allowed to return to Denver. Police are still examining materials collected during the raid. Congressman Peter King from Long Island, a ranking member of the Homeland Security Committee, has been briefed on the terror raids in Queens. He joins us from D.C. right now. Nice to see you this morning, Congressman King.
Good to see you, Rosanna.
I know you can't spill all the secrets, but can you give us some idea, some new information that you have on the briefings that you received?
Rosanna, what I can say is there is an ongoing investigation. This is obviously looked upon as a very serious matter by the FBI, by the NYPD, by the Joint Terrorism Task Force. And based on what I've seen, the totality of evidence, all the circumstances involved, I believe the Joint Terrorism Task Force did exactly the right thing by going in the way they did on Monday. I know there's some Monday morning quarterbacks, if you will, or Tuesday morning quarterbacks who are being critical. But the fact is, when the NYPD and the FBI, what they saw, what they were confronted with, once they saw that, they felt, and I agree, that they had no alternative but to move quickly, and they did. But it's an ongoing investigation, and that's why to say anything more at this time, to me, could compromise because of the fact that there's a number of moving parts to this.
Now, Mr. Zazi, as you just heard, is denying any connection with Al-Qaeda, and he has not been arrested. So what happens if nothing is found?
Let's wait and see what happens on this. Again, it's ongoing. What happened on Monday was just one step along the road. There's obviously the government feels this is very important, and the fact that there were no arrests on Monday and a question of whether or not this was found or that was found, the important thing is that the investigation is going forward. The fact is that New York has been protected again, and so I would just tell the American people and tell New Yorkers, wait until this plays out. We can't always get instant gratification when it comes to fighting terrorism. It's a long twilight struggle, if you will, and thank God we have the NYPD and the Joint Terrorism Task Force working so closely together on this.
Well, there were reports today in a lot of the papers here in New York City that say basically, did the NYPD jump the gun on these raids, that maybe it caused a rift with the FBI, but was the FBI asleep at the switch and the NYPD had to jump the gun?
No, I think it's always a mistake when we get into these games. First of all, I have the highest respect for the NYPD, and Commissioner Kelly is the best law enforcement organization, not only in the country but in the world, and they are leading the way on counterterrorism. The New York office of the FBI works very closely now with the NYPD. It wasn't always that way, but they do now. I think some of these critics you're hearing are anonymous sources in Washington or maybe other parts of the country who want to start trouble or they have it in for the NYPD, or maybe they believe that the FBI in New York works too closely with the NYPD. That, to me, is shameful what they're doing here. It's Ray Kelly, it was Joe Marchand, they were the ones who were on the, Joe Demarest, they were the ones who were on the line. They're the ones who had to make the decision. Commissioner Kelly, Director Demarest, these are the ones who have to make these decisions. They were the ones who were confronted with it. New York as a city was attacked. The last thing we want to do is to be, after the fact, trying to collect evidence after we have thousands of Americans dead or thousands of New Yorkers dead. So, no, I believe, from all that I know and based on their past history, the NYPD and the FBI here in New York did exactly the right thing on Monday. And the critics who are taking shots from the sidelines, I wish they had the guts to come out and show their faces publicly.
Congressman, on another subject, former President Jimmy Carter has spoken out, and he's talking that about health care, and that opposition to health care proves that racism and fear exists. He said basically that Joe Wilson's outburst during President Obama's speech last week was based on racism. He said, I think it's based on racism. There is an inherent feeling among many in this country that an African American should not be president. Your reaction to former President Jimmy Carter's statement on this?
Absolutely shameful. The fact is that Barack Obama was elected by a solid majority in this country. Until several months ago, he had popularity of over 70%. What we're seeing now is a standard American political fight, philosophical difference. I was in Congress when Bill Clinton was being mercilessly attacked by Republicans. I saw George Bush being repeatedly attacked by Democrats. I don't see any element of race here at all. What happened with Joe Wilson was unfortunate. But again, I've heard and seen people make the worst allegations against George Bush and against Bill Clinton. And just several months ago, we had Nancy Pelosi say that the CIA are all liars. So we had Dick Durbin say that American troops in Iraq or Afghanistan were acting like Nazis. So, no, I think Jimmy Carter, it's wrong. You know, racism is a very, very serious issue. And to needlessly inject it the way he is doing, to me, is shameful. Jimmy Carter is still living in the 1970s, when he, by the way, was a very failed president.
Okay, Congressman Peter King, thank you so much for weighing in on all those subjects this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rosanna.